Dear panel, we recognize that the labor market is changing, and it's changing drastically. We do not think that this motion is going to stop automation. We do not think this motion is going to stop the move of companies overseas if there is a significant competitive advantage over time. However, we think that this process happens way too fast in a way that does not allow individuals and regions to cope with those changes. And what we are trying to do here is buy enough time for people to be able to adjust and for governments to be able to adjust to new realities. With that in mind, what are we proposing? Three points of mechanism. First of all, we're obviously giving tax breaks for keeping jobs. When we say keeping jobs, we are only going to give this tax break for maintaining people in their current positions. These are not going to be granted in the same way to new employees entering those companies. Secondly, the subsidies are going to be reduced over time, over a period of several years, according to government planning, on how long we think it is possible for this industry to be phased out. Finally, we are also going to have, in parallel to this, massive retraining and training programs in order to allow people to move into new jobs that are being created within the market. Are there any clarifications about the mechanism? Great. So, three things. Firstly, why this process is happening too fast currently. Second of all, what are the harms of that? Thirdly, why we solve it. So, we say that why is this happening? What's happening now, and why is it happening so fast? We say that there are dramatic gaps in prices between manufacturing in different countries, or manufacturing by new technologies being invested. The thing is, if your competitors do this, you face a significant disadvantage. At the point where people start, where other businesses are able to reduce prices dramatically, you're significantly less able to compete. Therefore, you're forced to do the same. This is, note, specifically true for internal competition within a country. That means, for example, if it is possible that US companies have a certain advantage within the US market, which they don't have in the European market, for example. The reason that's important is because, just a second, lost my train of thought, sorry, very rusty. But essentially, never mind that specific point. The thing is, first of all, there are a few mechanisms that make this go very, very quickly. First of all, is the fact that other countries often employ predatory policies in order to attract industries to them. That is, for example, China giving its own factories huge subsidies in order to be able to produce and sell cheaper. For example, other countries offering huge tax breaks in order for companies to just move there, like Ireland did with Intel, things of that sort, which we say countries that employ a complete free market economy are just very, very prone to. Second of all, we say that if we're talking about automation, then computational abilities, the ability to manufacture new technologies, is rising exponentially, whereas the capacities of factories to adjust and human workers are moving significantly slower. That all means that these processes are happening very, very quickly. Now, what are the harms of these processes happening so quickly? First of all, there are many people that, even though we accept the notion of competitive advantage and the idea that at the end of the day, the US will be doing more high-tech jobs and more manufacturing jobs moved to the East, for example, we do say that the average factory worker in Detroit is not able to move to producing Intel chips or being a high-tech programmer. That is not likely given the level of training, level of understanding this person has, professional education, and so on. So many people are just likely to be thrown out of the market completely because they don't have now a profession to work in after they've already worked for 20 years, let's say, in a manufacturing job. Second of all, entire regions are affected at once, if you have leading to structural unemployment. For example, you have the Rust Belt in the US, where whole cities relied on the auto industry. The auto industry had to fire many, many people and move jobs abroad. The resulting factor is first of all shops closed down because people were not making a salary. Nowadays, crime obviously rose, unemployment rose, new companies are willing to move into those areas. All that means people are significantly worse off than they could have been and are not likely to reintegrate into the market in the way we would have wanted them to. Thirdly, we say there are national security considerations sometimes that are not easy to detect. For example, when the Belt and Road Initiative started, when the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative started, there were many countries saw this as an opportunity. A few years later, we see that there are many costs countries are paying that were not evidently transparent. For example, the fact that you have to lease off your strategic infrastructure to a different country. We say the same things often happen with industries as well. We say that these are things that need time in order for governments to adjust to and in order for governments to wait. finally, we say that the two first factors I mentioned, namely the fact that people are thrown out of the market and the whole regions are thrown out of the market, means that people are angrier, people are more likely to vote for populist policies. All this means that that any harm they show of why these economic policies might be bad or might be suboptimal is way worse when people vote people like Donald Trump in, who do much worse populistic economic policies in order to alleviate those pressures. Before I go on to how this gets solved, yes, Alon.
So if you're willing to spend these billions just to keep people in a job, why would you not make national projects or alternatively spend let them actually spend their time retraining for a job that will actually be competitive for them in the future?
Thank you. So first of all, we do not think it is reasonable to suggest that the government just makes up jobs that do not have actual necessity. We say that if there are national projects that need to be done, we're willing to do them as well. This is not mutually exclusive with this motion. Finally, but let's talk about how we achieve solutions to these problems. First of all, note that companies also have clear incentives to stay within a country, to stay with human workers. The fact that they've already built infrastructure within these places, the fact that there is still a more trained workforce, people who have been used to working in these jobs. We say that these people, what we do here is rebalance the incentives in a way that allows companies to stay when they wish to. We are not going to probably, if a company still has a huge difference, there is a huge delta between the effectiveness, between the technological capacities and so on. We just don't think companies are going to make this move anyway. We think that, but we do think we solve many borderline cases. We give companies a place to breathe. We give enough time for new infrastructure to be developed in Detroit or in the Rust Belt, for new companies to move in. We give enough time for people who cannot be retrained, unlike what Alon proposes, to just leave the market, have a pension, live in a dignified way, and not have their entire lives crushed by these economic changes. At the end of the day, we believe that this process is inevitable, but we believe it's happening too fast. We're allowing people the space to breathe. We're allowing people to relieve their suffering. We are very proud to propose the motion. Thank you very much.